Hello everyone, I am Prepper Princess, the author of Living on Almost Nothing. If you are interested in purchasing this book, I will go ahead and leave a link down in the description box below. So, we are living in unprecedented times with a bear market going on in the stock market, inflation, sky-high gas prices and grocery prices, and during these times everyone says it's different this time, just like they said every single time our economy has hit negative territory. So today I am bringing you the top 10 reasons this is nothing like the Great Depression, so let's get to it. Coming in at number 10 is Breadlines. During the Great Depression, when someone was really hungry and they had no money for food, they would often end up waiting in a bread line at a soup kitchen. These people would wait in line for several hours to receive a single bowl of soup, a piece of bread, and something to drink, which was typically coffee or orange juice or milk. These bread lines sprung up with help from the American Red Cross, but you would only be able to receive soup and bread if you waited in line for several hours, and it was only if they didn't run out before you came to the front of the line. If they were out, you were out. Unlike today, where nearly every city and every town has food banks that will gladly fill up the trunk of your car or SUV without the scare of getting to the front of the line and then running out of food. These food banks serve far more than a bowl of just soup and a piece of bread, but will give each individual at least a week's worth of food at no cost to them. This food is not provided by the Red Cross, but by local grocery stores that have a surplus of food when a new shipment usually comes in. Coming in at number 9 is Social Security benefits. During the Great Depression, there were no provisions put in place for the elderly. If you did not have money saved, you were simply out of luck with no income when you were no longer able to work. This led to a lot of homelessness and extreme poverty come your elder years. Social Security was created on August 14th of 1935, so elderly would not have to succumb to living in extreme poverty and possibly starving to death without help. In today's society, you have enough working hours on your record, you are able to collect Social Security with an average passive income of $16.57 a month. If you worked hard and have a paid-off home, this is well above the poverty line within the United States of America, and it is no longer normal to see the elderly living on the streets in most cases. Coming in at number 8 is bills that come with technology. During the Great Depression, it was not unheard of to disconnect your telephone, which might be the only monthly bill that you had. Only 10% of those living in rural areas had access to electricity and plumbing. This means that you might have a well or stream on your property for water and an outhouse for a bathroom, as well as candles for lighting. In inner cities, the major source of entertainment was the radio, where it's today over 98% of the population has all of the amenities along with all of the bills that come with them. This includes cable TV, satellite, cell phone, electricity, garbage, sewer, water, and so on. It would be unheard of for someone today to disconnect their phone, let alone their other utilities, but if they were disconnected, there would be no bills that would have to be paid. Coming in at number 7 is the cost of insurance. Health insurance was created and began in 1929. Given that this was at the beginning of the Great Depression and the radio was the major form of media, medical insurance was not widely used. When people went to the doctor or had to go to the hospital, it was paid in cash at the time that they were seen by the doctor. I was unable to find information on payment plans during this time period, but it is unlikely that payment plans existed. This also extends to home insurance and car insurance. While medical insurance can take up to $1,000 per person today, along with an additional $2,000 per year for car and home insurance, these were available during the Great Depression, but they were very seldomly used as people did not have the money for things that were not absolute necessities. In today's day and age, these might be considered necessities to the majority of consumers. Do you know anyone that has no medical insurance, car insurance, or home insurance? Yeah, neither do I. Coming in at number 6 is dual income households. During the Great Depression, it was very rare for a woman to work. The Women to Work movement did not happen until World War II. Most households would have a working husband while the wife stayed at home to do the cooking, cleaning, and all of the grocery shopping. This is almost unheard of today, as most people assume that both spouses must work in order to pay all the bills. Back then, a woman could become a maid, a live-in maid, a seamstress, a laundress, or possibly a secretary if they were lucky. While these jobs were not normal, women got paid much less than half of what men did for the same job back then. Today, a woman can go to work and double the household income if she chooses to do so, thus doubling the household income. Coming in at number 5 is consumerism with clothing. During the Great Depression era, most children would have an extremely small wardrobe by today's standards. Typically, a child would have one outfit for school, one for play, and one for church, along with only one pair of shoes, which would be used for school in some areas and for church. When playtime would happen after school, children would put on their play clothes and they would take off their shoes so that they would not get ruined. Today, so much clothing is worn and thrown away that we have thrift stores and we have consignment shops that are simply dedicated to used clothing that is still in perfect condition. Additionally, child services might be called if your child only had 3 outfits to wear because of the stigma surrounding it. Coming in at number 4 is disability. Monthly disability benefits did not come into action in the United States until 1956. This means that if you were disabled, you had to rely on your family or your extended family or friends for all your financial and physical support. Yeah, now people that are disabled can get money on a monthly basis without the fear of dying, without medication or proper care. Coming in at number 3 is generational living. It was not at all unusual to live with family in a single household that could span for several generations. A grandma could be living in one room, taking care of the grandchildren while the parent was out at work, or could help the housewife with their daily chores. This saved these families a ton of money during these times, but in today's society, the majority of people are simply not willing to make that type of sacrifice or proper arrangements to live together, as it is considered to create a lack of privacy for each individual. Simply put, we are spoiled rotten and could easily go back to this style of living in order to save a ton of money, but we don't. Coming in at number 2 is the stock market. During the Great Depression, the stock market sank a whopping 90% from 1929 to 32. In addition to the 90% drop, those that relied on dividend payments saw those dividends sink to nothing, as the companies that provided them opted out of offering a dividend to their investors. This meant not only did the stock market depreciate 90%, but the income that so many people relied on simply dried up. The stock market, as I make this video, is down about 20%, and I am not aware of any of the companies that I invest in getting rid of their dividend payments anytime soon. Coming in at number 1 is rationing. Because of the Dust Bowl and food shortage, along with hoarding, and in order to prepare for war efforts, the government mandated rationing on sugar, coffee, meat, fish, butter, eggs, and cheese. Remember that this was government rationing and it was law. Store owners would not provide you the food without a government mandated ration card. There have not been any laws created during any shortages this time around. While some might say that, wait, there was a shortage of toilet paper or meat or whatever, but there has been no government mandated rationing. It is more of a courtesy requested by each individual store to only take what you need and to leave the rest for someone else that might need it. The only time I saw this was for yeast, when everyone was forced to stay at home and all of a sudden they decided that bread baking was going to be their new hobby and passion. So in essence, we are all spoiled rotten as Americans who wouldn't know how to conserve and refuse to give up any luxuries unless our life depended on it, unlike in the 1930s when it was just a way of life for everyone. Bonus number 11 is labor laws. Minimum wage did not come into effect until 1938, well into the Great Depression. The reason was that companies were paying slave wages to the majority of people that they knew needed a job during these difficult times. It was very common during the Depression to be at work when a man would just walk into your workplace and then tell the owner that they would do your job for half of what the owner was paying you. Most of the time, the owner would bite and you would be out of luck with no unemployment benefits to be had because, oh yeah, unemployment benefits didn't exist until 1935. Before that, you could accept money from the Emergency Temporary Relief Act, which you had to pay back. It was just a loan backed by the government, and nothing bad ever came back from backed loans by the government. All right, everyone, that is going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed this content, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and as always, do what you can with what you've got. Prepper Princess out.